Good morning, good morning. Okay. I was outside doing my walk, which is why I'm all red and sweaty, and so bear with me. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I think is really, really important that has kind of been my guiding focus for, I would say, probably the last maybe 5 years. And when I started to do this, my businesses took off. My life kind of got into a place where, I was really, really happy with it. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you about this. And it's the concept of figuring out what is your essential list. Okay. And I thought about this after reading the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And I'm actually listening to it again. And he has a podcast called Essentialism. Go figure. And I'll put in some links to the books, and I'll put in a link to the free Audible trial because his audiobook is really good. And I'll put in some other links after I'm done. But this concept of essentialism, which basically means that so the book is called Essentialism, the Disciplined Pursuit of Less, right? And I think so often we're trying to figure out how we add more, right? How we add more. And so it was interesting because there was somebody in my group this week that was asking, like, how do you fit everything in? And the problem is it's not about fitting everything in. It's about determining what your must-dos are, right? So, I would love, to get to my desk, by 7:30. And I found out that that's not really been happening. And one of the reasons it's not happening is because one of my essentials, like one of the things that I really feel like I have to do every day, is I have to go for a walk. Now, sometimes that walk looks a little bit different. Like if it's really raining, that doesn't happen. But what I did this week when it was raining is I actually did my walk like at my desk. I did like a standing walk. And I did it while listening to a training. So, what are my essentials? What are your essentials? And how are you going to fit them in to your schedule? Okay. So one of my essentials is my walk. Another one of my essentials is being there when Eric wakes up from his nap. Because when Eric wakes up from his nap until dinner time, or until the time I teach my courses, that's mommy and Eric time. Okay. And that, like, I love that time. I absolutely love that time. And that's not the only time I see him during the day, but like that's Eric and mommy time, right? And we both know that, and we both enjoy that time. Reading at nap time is one of those things I absolutely, that's one of my things I love to do, help him get down for a nap. That's mommy and Eric time. Going to bed at a reasonable time is essential. So my sleep is essential. My walk is essential. My Eric time is essential. And when I sit there and I think, oh my God, my house is a mess, or, oh my God, I have so much work to do, I sit there and think, okay, is this something, especially if it's going to impede on my sleep, my Eric time, or my walk time? I sit there and go, okay, if, my big three are those things, right? And so if that's the case, is, cleaning the house more important than those three things? For me, no, it's not. I just think it's so important to figure out what the most important things are in your life and structure your life around that. Because if we don't, then our kids and our spouse and our health kind of all fall by the wayside. It was interesting. I was listening to Essentialism, and one of the things they talked about in the book is they said, imagine that you are a stove with 4 burners. Okay, and your 4 burners are your family, your friends, your health, and your work. Okay. And if it's not your work, maybe it's your volunteer, maybe it's your mission, whatever that is. Okay. If you want to be successful, you can only have 3. If you want to be really successful, you can only have 2. And so what are they? Right. And the problem is that, think of your work, your work might be, homeschooling your kids. Your work might be, it might be keeping up your house, whatever that 4th thing for you is. So when I sit there and I'm like, okay, and it's a constant balance, and it's not always it's not always that it's the same 3 all the time. But what I find is, sometimes, and I'm terrible with this. I'll be completely honest. A lot of times it's my friends that go first. And I'm like, oh, I'll catch up with my friends later. Oh, and that's typically my one that gets dropped first. And then the second one ends up being my health. Right. And so for me, what I've had to do is I've actually had to examine, right, and say, okay, if I want to follow up with, my friends, like I have a chat with one of my friends this afternoon via Zoom, what's going to give for me to do that? Well, I'm not going to work, right? That's an hour that I'm taking away from work. And I'm okay with that. So when I think about my structure, when I think about how I want my days to look, the thing that I notice is that my work is becoming less and less of my day, because I really want to nurture my family relationships, and I really want to nurture my my friend relationships, and I really want to nurture my health. Right. And when I talk about health, I'm talking about my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health. I'm thinking about all of those things when I talk about health, because I think that all of those arenas are really important. And so when I sit down to think, and I kind of look at my schedule for the week and I say, okay, am I seeing all 4 things on my schedule? And they might not be in proportion, right? I would say, the biggest parts of my week are family, and work right now. And then, but I'm always checking in to make sure that my health is on there, through my walks, through good eating, through reading and exercising my mind, through, I talked a lot in my Empower Bookkeeper Network course this week about, personal development is very important to me. And then, do I see my friends on there? Am I checking in with my friends on a regular basis? Am I, and I said, I'm terrible with this. I'm trying to get better. I'll be honest with you guys. So I reached out to a couple of my friends that I haven't talked to in a little bit, just kind of see how they were doing. But I'm trying to make a better effort about doing that. And I'm going to kind of add in, add in some more folks, every week, just to kind of see, because I do have this terrible tendency of just crawling into a hole, but making sure. So, the purpose of this, I know I'm rambling on, the purpose of today is to get you to think about what things are essential for you. Okay, what things are essential for you. And then I want you to look at your schedule, and I want you to put those things on your schedule. I was talking to a mom the other day and she said, I just want something for me. And I said, I totally get that. Like, as a toddler mom, like, I totally get that, right? So how are you going to do that? What's that going to look like? And where is it on your schedule? Because if it's not on your schedule, it's not going to happen. Okay. And you have to check in with that schedule on a regular basis. So I'd love to know, for those of you that are watching live and for those of you that are watching the replay, what are your essential things? And how are you going to put those on your schedule? Okay. Critically important. And I know there's so much going on. I know some of you are thinking, there's no way I can do this with homeschooling and running my business and trying to keep up with my house and trying to do this and trying. I know, I get it. It's a lot. It is a lot right now. So the thing is that once you start thinking about, okay, these things are essential, right? These are my essential things. I have to get these on my schedule. Then you start to think about, okay, these are the other things that are on my plate right now. How do we make these manageable? Right? So one thing that we do in our house, that I just love. So I think I've talked about the Fly Lady quite a bit, in different lives on here. So the Fly Lady has she has a system where basically every morning you kind of swish your toilets while you're getting ready. And you wipe down your counters in your bathroom. Okay. And then she does this thing that's called like a weekly home blessing, which is basically like a really quick, 10 minutes per kind of going through your house and cleaning up. And Jeff and I will do this together. So it doesn't take us an hour. It takes us about 30 minutes. And we will do that like once a week to make sure that we've kind of made it through the whole house. It's like, you vacuum for 10 minutes, you dust for 10 minutes, you mop for 10 minutes, which is not like, we're not dragging out the bucket, but we're getting like a Swiffer cloth, or she's got her own mop. We wet that mop, and then we go through the house with that. I think we're so often looking for things to be perfect, for everything to be perfect. And so for the house to be perfect, the kids to be perfect, the husband to be perfect, we're perfect, the business is perfect, everything is perfect. That means nothing ends up being anywhere near perfect because we're having a breakdown. Right? Are you with me on that? Right? Because I know, I trust me, been there, done that. Okay. And I think that perfectionism is something that as women, we struggle with on a regular basis. Okay. We want everything to be perfect. And so it's important for us to sit down and say, okay, no, I'm going to kind of step back a little bit and say, you know what? I'm going to do this. It might not be perfect, but it'll be done. Right? Perfectionism is the enemy of done. Okay? I love that. Perfectionism is the enemy of done. I don't know where I got that from. I'll have to Google it and see where I got it from. But it's totally true. It is totally true. Okay? And so we do this little, like I said, Jeff and I do it together. It's like, I think we usually do it on Monday nights because Monday night is trash. Trash is the next day. And one of the things is to go around the house and empty all the trash. So, and like that doesn't take 10 minutes in our house. And usually I do that with Eric. He likes that. It's like a fun activity because he's really into trash and recycling right now. Have your toddlers gone through this where they've had like this, like obsession with something? Right now, ours is trash and recycling. Everything is trash and recycling right now. So we go through and we empty all the trash together after Eric wakes up from his nap on Mondays. And then Jeff and I go around and do the rest of the items. And if you're interested in that, you can go to flylady.net. And you can see her system. If you sign up for emails, though, watch out because you're going to get a lot of emails. She sends a lot of emails. But everything is on her site. So if you search for weekly home blessing on her site, you'll get the list. And what we did is I just printed it out and I put it on the fridge. But that's like the major cleaning that we do. And then we do spot cleaning, so we clean up the kitchen every night, and the trash truck, absolutely. Yeah, the trash truck. Oh my God. It's funny because with COVID, the trash truck is the highlight of the week. Okay, Rachel said, and the trash truck, absolutely. Yes. The trash truck coming is the highlight of the week. We go out front, we sit down on the step, we watch the trash truck, we wave at the trash truck honks. It's a big, huge thing. Okay, this is like COVID highlights of the week, right? So it makes Eric very, very happy. But now everything is trash trucks. He knows all the things and the grabber arms and the hoppers and the whole thing. And he knows all the bits and the pieces and the cab. And yeah, he's like obsessed, totally. So, so yeah, so that's fun. But fine. So once you figure out what's essential, right, you can sit down and say, okay, if these are my essential things, then what do I do with the rest? How do I make the rest work? And so, if one of your things is like, I hate making dinner, look into quick crock pot meals. I was at the store the other day and they had these frozen dinners that you just pop into your Instapot or you pop into your Ninja Foodie and they're ready in 15 minutes. And they're not like, they're in the freezer section. They're not super expensive. There's all sorts of options. One of the things that we did, when I was pregnant, again, not super expensive. They have like frozen lasagnas at Costco and they're humongous. It's like a half sheet tray. And I think they're like $12 or $13 and they're really good. And the ingredients are really good in them. And we would get one of those and you bake it from frozen. So if we were having one of those days, like, I just can't, we would cook up one of those. Have some fast options. If you haven't gone through and done my Mother of All Time courses yet, go through and do that. And I'll drop the link in the comments after this is over. I gotta like make a list now because I talked about like 4 or 5 things I'm gonna drop the links for. If I forget any when I'm going when you go through the replay, let me know and I'll make sure I get those in there. But we can't keep doing it the way that we're doing it. Okay, because we're all gonna go nuts. Okay. There's a tremendous amount of stress. There's a tremendous amount of stuff we have to get done. And if we don't start thinking about the most essential things, the most important things, that if we get nothing else done, these are the most important things to manage in our lives. Okay. If you get those down, and again, for me, right, my 4 are my family, my friends, my health, and my work. Okay. My family, my friends, my health, and my work. Okay. And so those are my 4 things. You should come up with what your things are. Okay. Knowing that it's not a balance, like these are not going to be equal. Okay. And there's going to be sometimes, like I said, that my friends kind of, my friends don't necessarily get all the love that they deserve. And that's part of the reason I love them, is because they realize that. But figure out, because if you don't know what's essential in your life, then you think everything is essential in your life. And you try to give the same priority to everything that comes on your plate. And it causes mass anxiety. It causes massive depression. Because when you think that everything is this important, you're constantly going and you're constantly worried and you're constantly in a state of almost panic. And we can't be like that. Our families need us, right? Our families need us. We need us, right? And so if I hope that when you make that essentials list that you are on that list, okay? That top few things. Because if you're not, they always say when you fly, put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Before you help anybody else. And so if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. All right. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know what your essentials are in the comments. Okay. And I will, as soon as I get off this, I will start dropping links for all the stuff I talked about during this live. All right. Thank you so much, mamas. I hope you have a great weekend and I will see you soon. Love you all.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.